What's good, YouTube? Katana here, and today we're gonna talk, you know, clearly about the current meta and AIDS and things like that. From the dot decays to the werewolves to the procs to the high survivability, high health recovery bull stuff that's going on right now. So, you know, I'm gonna be honest, right off rip, in my opinion. And if we're gonna do a comparison, because a lot of people always like comparing the past to the present, and then maybe to the future. If we're gonna compare the present to the past, I think in comparison, this meta aids and carries that's going on right now, mathematically, if we're looking at each sets and things like that, and like what we have access to now, isn't as bad as in the past. Now you guys might be like, "What? Did Katana just say that?" Do the math out. Back in the day, people used to wear heavy armor. You could be in heavy armor and use shuffle. And shuffle had the chance to dodge. And heavy armor, we can't forget how they had to revamp heavy armor because of how OP in itself it was. And back then we had less CP because the caps were way lower. For example, during the Viper Red Mountain and Tremor Scale patch, we all had a maximum CP of 501. It's not like the 810 versus we're 810 where we have even more defense and more survivability and more all this other stuff. Because mathematically that it makes sense. Like we had less survivability back then. We didn't have access to the pots weren't the same. The food wasn't the same. The gear wasn't the same. There was no Eternal Vigor. There was no Elysian. There was no high survivability sets to that degree, right? And so that's my argument on why back then, like if we're looking at the sets and things like that, back then it was more aids. I mean, shields were thicker and scaled off purely max mag. Now they are critable and they scale off resistances. Now some people might be like, well, that's more OP. All they had to do was stack it to max mag. You could have 55k max mag and be tanky as heck and not put even a little bit into resistances. And people are going to be like, Katana, what are you talking about? As soon as you drop that person's shield, as soon as my shield dropped, I got one-shotted. You got one-shotted because you're a poopy dupe. I'm going to be honest. Back in the day, you were a poopy dupe then. Because animation canceling was a thing. That is the only reason why, when things were that aids and that carried, it didn't feel as bad. Because animation canceling was a thing. You could counter things quickly. Like way quicker. If you don't know what animation canceling is, it's basically exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to cancel your animations. We don't have that nowadays. So when we get into patches like this, it seems like holy crap, this is ridiculous. Only because we can't counter not even nearly as quickly or as efficiently as we used to. Now some people are gonna be like, animation canceling is a carry. And, I wish I had my clips from back in the day, but I didn't have a terabyte, so, I deleted majority. And I used to dual naked back then too, with no procs. And in these clips I'm about to show you, I have procs, but I'm naked as well. So I'm quite literally just using jewelry, weapons, and a one-piece monster, but butt naked. Just like I did back in the day. People are going to say, well, if you killed people back in the day with animation canceling naked, and you kill people with procs naked now, doesn't that in theory make animation canceling carried? No, you know why? Everybody has access to procs, and not everybody has access to animation canceling. Now you're gonna be like, what? What do you mean by that? I mean, I guess somewhat that's not the correct way to say it, but not everybody can do animation canceling because it takes some sort of, you have to be fast. You have to be fast with your fingers to do like animation cancel. If you weren't fast with your fingers, you'd have to have a scuff. Like it was that simple. And even with the scuff, you'd still need to be somewhat fast. So, and I'm serious about it because I accidentally, never before playing this game did I ever claw. If you don't know what clawing is, it's when you use your index finger to press buttons. And before playing this game, never clawed. I ended up learning how to claw, not on purpose. Like I didn't study how to do it or practice it. I just ended up doing it because I was pressing my button so fast and my hands just automatically started clawing for no reason. Like, I don't use left on the D-pad. I use left on the D-pad to swap my weapons to this day. Never ever switched it to R3. I tried it a little bit and I was like, this is weird. And it was only because I clawed. But, like I was saying before, quite literally, that's the only reason why this meta and carries feels way worse. So, as you can see in all these clips, I will be using overwhelming on my front bar, right? Everybody always likes to make the debate that overwhelming is an underperforming proc set. It's not that OP. I don't have armor bonus passives or anything like that. Like, I'm not in light, I'm not in heavy. I am very squishy. I'm very squishy and I don't hit hard. Like, my actual class abilities do not hit hard. I'm hitting people for like 800 a jab tick typically. Purifying Light's hitting for like 4k. Crescent's hitting for tops 5k, you know? And it's quite literally just because overwhelming is ticking at this person's health so constantly and it allows me to sustain a little bit. It's why I'm killing any of these people. Now imagine if I was using one of the better proc sets like Icy Conjure, Kalarians or something like that. I would be hitting them way harder. And in the next clip after this, you're going to see since this was last patch, I wasn't using the Vate Destro. In the next clip, I'm using the Vate Destro. And you can see alone how much it ticks for. And now some people are going to be like, well, Katana, aren't you just using Malakath to make it hit harder? No, bro. Think about it. You can't fit Malakath when you're booty ass naked. It doesn't make sense. You literally can't fit it on your in your whole setup. Like, you can't. I'm using 3-piece overwhelming jewelry, overwhelming Destro, and then, well, in this clip I'm using Potentate Sword and Board, and then in the clips after that I'm using the Vate Ice Staff. So literally you're gonna see the damage difference, by the way. But we can't say, you know, between the two patches, oh, they nerfed overwhelming's damage, so, you know, overwhelming isn't as great. These two patches, last patch and this patch, overwhelming had the same amount of damage. And last patch, the meta was Elfbane Grothar overwhelming with Malakath. Which, again, I said it. I said that was carry. That was a carry. And, again, I test everything all the time. And I try it all the time. I don't say things out of my booty cheeks. I say it because I'm like, holy crap. What the hell did I just do? I just smoked this dude in my underoos. Like, what the hell? Bro. But yeah, now imagine, you know, the people that are running around with a whole bunch of procs. Like, even the Vate 2H, it's a very slept on proc. Like, people might even be like, the Vate 2H isn't even a proc. When you heavy attack, it will hit someone for 9k most of the time. What do you mean? On top of your heavy attack's damage. So it's like you heavy attack for, say, 7k. And then on top of that, the proc is 9k. Like, what? Hello? Like, I know people are like, oh, I just use it for the weapon damage it gives me. Bruh. The proc is also good. You know you use it for the proc, too. Come on. I've used the Vate 2H before. My Stamden, I called it Thanos for a reason when it was using the Vate 2H. Because literally, Beetles with a heavy attack typically killed people. Especially if you were D-swing weaving with light attacks and heavy attacks and medium attacks and things like that. It was just disgusting. And so, this clip right here is an example of someone that would probably... Okay, he did say... You know, these are the people that would make the debate. Procs aren't OP. Like, some people's logic is if they don't kill you with the carried things, it can't be that carried. I'm telling you how badly that makes no sense. You're just that bad that the carries can't even carry you enough. Like, that's, no offense, that's horrendous. Which, it's fine. You know, you're not good at everything in life. You're just not good enough to get carried in ESO. That's just what it is, sadly. But this dude is using, I know his whole build because he was talking to me about it and he was complaining about my build after the fight. Even though I didn't even start the argument. He was talking trash to me first. But he was like, I'm using Galarian's Lich and Nernreith on a macro. Again, if you don't know macro is very slept on and has really, really good defenses. And he somehow made macro look like poopy doop and Galarians look like trash. Galarians, again, everybody always likes to make the debate. Overwhelming is way worse than Galarians. I killed him with Overwhelming. He had Galarians. He had armor on. I did not. This proves how much procs carries. And that some people are just not even somehow good enough to even get carried by the procs. As you can see, the Clarence procs right there. And it's even why he even hit me hard. But, you know, again, makes no sense. And, you know, for whatever reason, a lot of people like to ask me, so Katana, you think X, Y, and Z is good and bad and all this other stuff? And it's like, typically the person they talk about is using a whole bunch of carries and procs and things like that. Like, you could tell when someone's good and when someone isn't that good. Just strictly from the way they're fighting. Like, say if you ignore the procs and the builds that they're wearing, you could just tell from how they're fighting. Maybe someone's over blocking or not putting their buffs up and things like that, and you could just tell that they're just not efficient or quick thinkers. And so, you know, people get offended sometimes when I'm like, yeah, that dude isn't built like those. And they're like, well, who cares about what you say? Because, you know what? You're not built like those. Again, I'm putting this out there right now again. I always have to repeat myself. I don't know why. I know I'm not built like those. I never claimed to be built like those. I always say I'm average at best. I am average. I just test things all the time. That's it. That's it. I'm a dude that can only play Magplar. Magplar only pretty much presses jabs. I'm a poopy doop. Who cares? Get off my nuts about that. But look, you asked me a question and I'm answering honestly. From all the people I've seen and things like that, the dude isn't built like those. He's not. Even with... And it's crazy because I was just in a tourney yesterday and like it was a Hunding's Agility and Juliano's Willpower tourney. And Bloodspawn was the only two-piece monster that could be used, and all arena weapons were banned, right? The amount of people that didn't show up or left the tourney just because of who showed up and what the rules were was crazy. It's like that is a very balanced tourney, and it's quite literally based off of more skill than anything else. Give or take a few things, but mostly it's based off of skill. Like, if you're skillful, you're running through most people in that tourney if you're built like those. The dude that won it, he gives me hope for the quote-unquote newer players that are playing the game, because he hasn't been 8-10 for long, and he just started playing about like a year ago. His name's Change Spirit. He gives me hope of people maybe having skill at the game. He won the tourney. He packed me up. I ain't gonna lie. He packed me the fuck up. I got Chipotle. GG's to him. But, you know, it's just proof in the pudding that so many people, like, they just, I don't know what it is. They don't want to admit that they're carried and things like that, or, like, they're just not built like those. And, like, I'm not coming at the people that are casual and just trying to have fun in the game. Like, you do you, my boy. Or girl. Whatever you are. But I'm talking about the people that are like weirdo sweats that are like, they be breathing down my neck and like other players' necks all the time, talking about, I am the best. You will acknowledge me. It's like, bro, chill out. And no, I will not acknowledge you because you ain't built like those. But anyways, if this video isn't proof enough on why these things are carried, and again, honestly, if animation canceling was a thing, this wouldn't even be a huge problem. But sadly, it's not a thing, so this is a pretty big problem, and it makes X, Y, and Z not so happy in the game. But it is what it is. This is my theory with my evidence. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment if you're new to my channel. Subscribe. Have a great